Hello everyone, this is Anastasiia Stoianova with you, and today we are looking at CELPIP Listening Part 5. We've come this far, and just a friendly reminder for everyone, if you haven't watched the previous parts, where I talk about parts 1, 2, 3 up to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, please watch them, and I'll be creating more lessons about part 6, and reading and writing and speaking, so stay tuned. And today we are going to practice and talk about the strategies together. If you want to follow me, just go to my website, English Stoianova, that's my last name, .ca. So first things first, we'll talk about format and the task itself. It's a video, though it's listening, it's an audio, but usually during the exam we watch video. We are going to also talk about what to track in a discussion, what to pay attention to, the 3-speaker method, and some signal words that might be helpful. Let's get started. Task format, what to expect. So when you come to the exam, this is the one but last part. So there are 6 parts, yes? So this one is part 5, and you can imagine that you are getting tired by this time. And every part that has been played before was a bit easier, because remember, part 1 is easy. The second part is a bit harder. The third is a bit harder. So every part is a little bit more difficult. So you might imagine that part 5 is not an easy part. And I'm not like trying to intimidate you or make you feel anxious. No, you can prepare for this part, just like for any other task on your exam. This is the only part with the video, and you can actually see the people. 3 people discuss one topic. The video plays once, just like an audio, and it's usually up to 2 minutes long, so not super long. But we have 8 questions, and you can see the questions. Because remember, for the first 3 parts, parts 1 to 3, you only hear the questions. You do not see them. But for this part, you get to see the questions and you get to make your choice. However, your time is limited. As always, you gotta be very, very quick, not get stuck. And remember that the video gets to be played once only. You cannot pause, you cannot rewind on a test. On a test, everything goes like this, very fast. Just for the purpose of practice, today we will be talking a little bit longer probably about each question, because I try to explain to you why it's correct or why some ideas are incorrect. But of course, when you practice on the platform, you get to choose. If you want to practice with the timer very strictly, you could do that in the exam mode for sure. If you practice just for the first time and you want to take a look at the words, you want to take a look at the translations, that's fine. You could do that. And this is the screenshot from the official website. I want to talk about some things that you need to keep in mind when you write your notes. Because remember, for the listening test at the test center, at the exam center, they will give you a piece of paper to write your notes. Because we cannot predict what kind of questions are going to be asked on the exam. That's why it's important to write down as much as you can. And in order to do that, you need to keep track on who is speaking. Usually names are given. You could write just by the position of the screen, for example, who was on the left, who was on the right. Because sometimes the way questions are phrased, there might be, what did the man on the right say? Pay attention to their age, to their clothes. Sometimes questions might be asked like, what did the older man think about this problem, for example? So each person's position, for example, who supported the idea? Because usually the discussion centers around one idea. So let's say usually it's more formal language, more formal context, and they are discussing, for example, some options of the policy within the company, yeah? So you got to mark who supported this idea and who was against and who was neutral, because that's how the questions are designed. You might be asked, why did this man support this and that idea? So be careful, and also connection between views, who responded to who. Sometimes they ask, why did she support another woman in the video? So mark the change in the position. That's why I recommend having like this, LCR, left, center, right, So based on their position, and names also are important. Sometimes they don't give names. Trust me, can be. So be careful. In most cases, we are given names, so that's important to write down the name. And what do they think about the problem? So for example, let's say they're choosing some activities, right? And Anna would say, yeah, she supports beach holidays or vacation. So that's what you're gonna write. And you put a tick, so meaning supports, and why, main argument. So that kind of method helps you build up and prepare for the questions that come. Also, Boris, for example, okay, hiking, spend the weekend actively. So you see, try to write down very, very quickly, very shortly. Sometimes they change their position, and you could say first neutral and then supported hiking, right? And just kind of write down why. That's also important. There are some signal words that can help when a person changes their mind or expresses agreement or disagreement. So for example, here we have agreement. I agree with, that's too obvious, but sometimes we might still hear that. That's a good point. You're right about it. Oh, I'm with you on that. That makes sense. Good idea. And some others, of course. These are just like pretty standard, but you gotta memorize them. And in your brain, it's like a switch. It's like a signal to write down the agreement. Sometimes disagreement or a change of mind. For example, I see it differently. Oh, actually, I think blah, blah, blah. Yes, but, but is like a signal. Something's gonna change. I'm not sure. Very careful change of mind or disagreement. Very polite. I hadn't considered that. Fair enough. Maybe on second thought, somebody changes their mind. So memorize these, take a screenshot or write them down. There are many more of these. You might ask AI, for example, or just do more research. Why not? That's a good idea because there are so many ways how you could express the same idea. And usually it's not just yes or no, or I agree or disagree, right? So there are many more ways to do that. Also, I want to kind of caution you. I want to give you advice that the main trap for this part is that if a person mentions something, it doesn't mean that they are supportive. So what I mean is that, like, let's say Anna says something like this. One of the people in the conversation, Anna, says, okay, some say the beach is boring. It's not her opinion. She says some people say this, but I disagree. So what do we write down? We write down that she supports beach. So do not fall into this trap. Try to analyze the statement. Is she being supportive or not? So she really named someone else's view, but she's actually for the beach. She is supportive. She likes the beach, okay? Boris, what if we went hiking? So he's suggesting hiking. Probably you're going to write down this, it's his idea. I hear you, but I still prefer the city. So just an idea, right? Oh, hiking sounds better. So now he's changing his mind, and that's what you have to write in your notes. That's a fair point. Agrees with somebody. So be very careful and try to structure your notes, because then the question might come like, why did they change their mind? Or who convinced Boris to change his mind? Or why did he change his mind? And so on. So try to write them down like this. If you don't like the way it looks here, you could just simply divide into 3 columns if it's easier, and just any ideas connected with Anna would be on the left, yeah? Any ideas connected to Boris will be in the center. Any ideas that are connected with Victor will be on the right. So if it makes sense to you, you might modify this. Okay, right now we are going to practice. Please go to my website, English Stoianova. That's my last name, Stoianova, stoianova.ca/app/app. And we are going to practice part 5 together. For the sake of practice, I opened the transcript for us. So if we need to discuss, then we are going to use the transcript. But this is what it's going to look like. We are in the practice mode. And for the purpose of the platform, we generated the audio. We made the audio. So it's not going to be a video. It's an audio. So it makes it a little bit more challenging for you. But if you can tackle this challenge, you can tackle the real exam as well. And let's read the context. So you will hear a conversation among 3 colleagues on a workplace wellness committee at a mid-sized company in Calgary. They are meeting to decide on a new employee wellness initiative for the coming year. So wellness, something connected with health, some benefits that the company gives to promote health and well-being. Never skip this part. You are giving like 20 seconds to read the instructions on the real test. Please read them before you actually hear the audio. So divide your piece of paper into 3 columns, please. And we are going to take a look at 8 questions after we listen. All right, are you ready? Let's go.
All right. Thanks for making time today, everyone. We've been asked to finalize our proposal for the employee wellness program by the end of the month. So we really need to land on something concrete. I've been looking at a few options: a subsidized gym membership, a mental health support fund, or on-site wellness workshops. Thoughts?
Honestly, my first instinct was the gym membership. It's tangible. People use it. But after I reviewed the survey data from our staff, I think the mental health support fund might actually be the more pressing need. A lot of employees flag stress and burnout as top concerns.
I agree the mental health angle is important, Kenneth, but I'm worried about the budget. A dedicated fund means ongoing administrative overhead. Someone has to track claims, approve expenses. I'm not sure we have the capacity for that right now.
That's a fair concern. What if we went with the wellness workshops instead? We could cover mental health topics, stress management, mindfulness, without the administrative burden of a reimbursement fund.
That's not a bad middle ground. Though I'll say, workshops only work if people actually show up. Participation tends to drop off after the first session. We'd need a strategy to keep engagement up.
That's true. What if we made attendance optional, but tied it to something like a points-based incentive system? Employees earn points for attending sessions, and the points go toward an annual wellness credit they can use however they choose.
Oh, I like that. It gives flexibility without forcing anyone into a specific format.
I was skeptical of adding another layer of complexity at first, but actually, a point system could solve the engagement problem. It also lets us track participation data, which would help justify the program budget to senior leadership.
Exactly. And we could launch with 3 or 4 workshops in Q2: mental health, nutrition, financial wellness, and evaluate at the midpoint before expanding.
Perfect. So our recommendation is a workshop series with a points-based incentive. Kenneth, can you draft the budget outline? Amelia, would you coordinate with HR about facilitators?
Happy to.
Absolutely. I'll have something to you by Thursday.
Okay, here we go. And here are the 8 questions. So it was the audio, but on the real exam, you get to see the video, you get to watch the video. So, but I will help you here. So don't worry, we'll talk about it together. You can always open the transcript in the tab. And yeah, I think it's helpful. So the common question, it's always like that, just like on an official exam, the main purpose of the conversation: to finalize a proposal for a new employee wellness initiative, to review the results of last year's wellness program, to present a completed wellness program to senior leadership, to debate whether the company should fund any wellness activities. So you remember that they were saying this at the very beginning. That's like a life hack for you to remember that purpose usually comes at the very beginning. Let me show you. So here Rachel says, "Thanks for making time today. We've been asked to finalize our proposal for the employee wellness program by the end of the month." Okay? Sometimes if you haven't heard it, my advice for you, always keep trying to listen till the very end, even if you missed something, because then you can just eliminate. You could say, oh no, nothing about senior leadership here, nothing about a debate. Yeah, because here it's not just wellness activities. They are choosing what they are going to do. It was not just about activities. Maybe they were saying just to give them money or something, right? So just read very carefully. Sometimes you can eliminate, but in this case, it's pretty obvious that proposal, and it was something that we heard at the very beginning, and that would be the right answer. And Kenneth, so the guy, Kenneth's view of the gym membership option is that it, and then let's take a look, and I'll make it slightly bigger for us. Here we go. Oh, sorry, not this one. Oh, here we go. Perfect. Now it's all good. So Kenneth's view of the gym membership option is that it is the best option despite what the survey revealed, was never a realistic choice, is too expensive, was initially appealing, meaning good, but then the staff data pointed toward different priority. So this one actually very specific. Just based on what he said my first instinct was the gym membership. It's tangible, yeah, like it's something that people would use. But then he said, I reviewed the survey data from our staff, and I think the mental support fund might actually be the more pressing need. Here we go. So you see that at first he liked it, but then he studied something, yeah, like a survey. So they asked people what they need, and that's why he changed his mind. Okay, that would be the right answer. By the way, when the timer is up, there are 4 minutes for 8 questions. Very fast, I know, but we are talking about it, so that's why it's going to take a bit longer. When you practice on your own, when you click next, you get to review the answers, and if you made a mistake, then on the platform you can read why and what was the right answer. So let's take a look at number 3. Amelia's concern about a dedicated mental health support fund is that. So you remember concern of Amelia? Yeah, we heard 2 women, and maybe if you did not hear the names, then you could mark women 1, women 2, yeah? So she said that there is something like administrative overhead, which means it's about money, it's about expenses, yeah? So, and the closest answer here, if you take a look at it, is Carrie's ongoing administrative demands the team may not be able to handle. So that was her worry. And look, what I can tell you, this part is a bit more formal. That's why do not be upset or sad that some of the vocabulary, some of the words might be difficult, because they are difficult. Trust me, parts 5 and 6 are for upper intermediate learners and for higher level, but during the exam, even if you're not sure, take a guess, because if you leave the answer blank, then it's not good for you. It's a 0, right? But try to take a guess and maybe you guess correctly. But in this case, we don't really have to guess. I will show you here. Budget, administrative overhead. So like they would need to hire someone to track claims. They are talking about some of the budget for mental health, right? Mental health support fund. What Kenneth said. So money that people can spend however they want, and then they can claim and say, hey, I bought something and this was good for my mental health. You know, sometimes they have this at some big companies here in Canada. So here we go. And Rachel, so another woman, proposes the wellness workshop option mainly because it, the least costly of all three alternatives, guarantees higher attendance than other formats, has already been approved by senior management, can address mental health themes without creating a claims-based process. Remember, they were worried about this claims, expenses, so that's what another woman was saying, actually, and let me show you in the script. What if we went with the wellness workshop instead? We could cover the topics without this burden of a reimbursement fund. If you don't know these words, take a look at the dictionary or Google Translate. Yeah, so burden is something heavy. Yeah, can be physical, can be non-physical, like abstract. In this case, it's about expenses. So it's more money to spend for the company. And reimburse, it means they give you the money that you spend back. So that's what reimbursement means. All right, number 5, the speaker, and I will show you the explanations, and you will pause the video if you need to read through the explanations, detailed explanations of correct answers. So in order for us not to spend too much time on it, right? Because I don't want it to become the lecture, 1-hour lecture of part 5, because it always might be, because these parts are quite hard. So the speaker who introduces the idea of points-based incentive system, incentive like motivation, who was that? You remember, that was actually, who was that? Points-based incentive system. All three speakers? Probably not, yeah, because we heard clearly that Amelia was the one. And she said, she explained that people would come, yeah, people would actually come like this. What if we made attendance optional, but tied it to something, connected it to something, like points-based incentive system? And then she explained, yeah? Employees earn points for attending sessions, and the points go toward an annual wellness credit they can use however they choose. That's why this is our correct answer. And if you're not sure, you can still eliminate this one, for example, yeah? And even if you were choosing between two women, you were not sure, but this one, part of her opening proposal. She did not have any opening proposal, so always double check. And sometimes you could just, even if you don't know, you guess correctly, just based on what seems right. Okay, we have 3 more, though time is up, but I will continue explaining and doing this with you, and then we'll take a look at the answers together. Kenneth's attitude toward the points-based incentive system by the end of the conversation. So, remember I was telling you guys that you should keep track, you should focus on what people are saying, and if they change their mind or not. Was he enthusiastic? Yes or no? Reluctant, it's like didn't want to, but accepted. Mild indifference. Did he say he didn't care? Probably not. So we can say no, it's not correct. Skepticism, also he was like, no. Remember that Kenneth actually, we need to track the reactions. He was saying like, I was skeptical. But the question asks, by the end of the conversation. So that's also like a trap that we need to be careful about. So here we go. What did he say? Happy to, he was positive. And here he explained that, yeah, it's great. Point system could solve this problem. So he agreed, right? Isn't it right? He agreed. It solves the engagement problem. And he said that himself. Here you don't get to see much of a paraphrase because the ideas are complex by themselves. So we don't really need to paraphrase much. And you see enthusiastic. He's saying happy to. So here we go, that's our answer. Amelia suggests that the workshop series should be evaluated. How are they going to judge, good, bad, or before any sessions take place to confirm the budget once senior leadership reviews the participation numbers. Here we go, I'm just going to do like this. Yeah. At the halfway point of the initial launch phase, only after all planned sessions have been completed, Amelia suggests that these series should be evaluated. Let me show you what she said. We could launch with 3 or 4 workshops in Q2, yeah? And evaluate at the midpoint before expanding. Midpoint. So probably you wrote down the midpoint. So in this case, midpoint, it's half point. In this case, we do have a paraphrase because that's quite a simple idea. So they will launch them, and then halfway through they will decide if they are good or not, if they are effective or not. So almost there. By the end of the conversation, Kenneth is responsible for. So what is he going to do? Did you remember? They asked him to do something. He said happy to. Kenneth, can you draft the budget? It was very clear, right? There's no hesitation here. I think, preparing a budget outline for the proposed program. So now we are done with all the tasks, all of the 8 tasks, and now we can hit next and practice completed. And let's take a look if we got it wrong or right. Review answers. Here we go. Yay! Correct. 8 answers. Congratulations. So, on our platform here, you can expand the transcript and you can work through the text. You can write down the translations, you can even copy and paste it into AI, translate it if you need, and write down the answers. Why not? Yeah, that's a great way to learn. The more you learn like this consciously, the better. And for every question, I will show you the explanations. And if you need to read through the explanations, please pause the video. Hit pause and just stop, look at the screen, because I don't want to waste too much time, read through everything. I have already tried to explain to you and showed you the transcript as we were going through the task. But just in case, let's say at home you're practicing on the platform by yourself, for every task, the same for reading, for everything, yeah, all the audios, all the listening tasks, you will get this correct or incorrect explanations, and you get why, right? With the reference to the transcript. So very, very specific explanations. For example, Rachel opens by saying they need to land on something concrete. And she actually used the word proposal there as well. Now I'm moving on to, if you need to pause the video, please do that. Pause the video and read the explanations. Same for the next one, pause the video. I was trying to explain, I was trying to do my best, the use of administrative overhead, which is about claims and money. Okay, moving on to number 4. Again, pause the video if you need. Can address mental health themes without creating claims-based process. That's what we said. I was explaining to you this burden idea, yeah? It's like more expenses, more money. And sometimes if you make a mistake, for example, if you chose something else, then there is an explanation why not. For example, here, if you had chosen Rachel introduces 3 points, but she does not mention a point system. So task 5 is very difficult because it tests your ability to tackle the details, to write them down. So write down as much as you can. Okay, I'm moving on to number 6. Again, pause the video, take a look or take a screenshot. Enthusiastic support. Yes, Kenneth was supporting. Always be careful they always ask something like that on a real exam by the end of the conversation. So always pay attention to the beginning to the end when a person changes their opinion regarding the matter, regarding the topic. Okay, question 7. We have 2 more, and you could take a screenshot. Question 7, correct at the halfway point, because Amelia said evaluate at the midpoint. Yes, so not at the end. And the last one, also pause the video, take a screenshot if you need. Preparing a budget outline by the end of the conversation, Kenneth is responsible for. And once again, if you need a transcript, also I will show you and I will scroll through, pause the video and take screenshots. This part here, 1, 2, 3. Now moving on to this one, 1, 2, 3. I hope you were able to take a screenshot. And the last bit here, 1, 2, 3. Okay, I hope you took the screenshots if you need the transcript. And thank you for watching this. Let me explain something, just a couple of words. Here, as you could see, you could click and do the course lesson, part 5. It's a very detailed lesson with more strategies, more life hacks. And all of these lessons regarding listening and reading and writing and speaking, all of the useful phrases and cliches are available to you when you just buy the subscription. So try to buy a subscription. We have options just to buy for 1 week and try and practice if your exam is coming up soon. But of course, the best option is to buy for half a year or for an annual subscription, because in that way you get so much practice with so many tests that I curated personally as a methodologist, as an instructor. On our platform, we have practice mode. So you could practice every part separately, but you also get to have mock exams as well. And in the mock exams, you could click through every part and all the attempts of your exams are saved. So very convenient, gives you the level, yeah, if you practice This is just an example. I was testing something, yeah, but very nice. And with timer, so with all the parts, it's a great way. There is also, we have analytics and rankings, and you could even change the dark theme, yeah, change the settings. There is a guide of the platform here, and it tells you, for example, to go to the courses that are also available with the subscription here. Templates, and you can click, and I wrote those templates myself. This is something that I've been using for years now with my students. Practice, exam mode. So I hope that this was helpful, and next time I will be teaching you Part 6, listening, and then after that, reading, writing, and speaking. So please go to English Stoianova. Stoianova, that's my last name, yeah, because that's my small business, my big love, yeah, and small business. So please support me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please go to this website and stay in touch, and I will see you in the next video, guys. And good luck on your exam, and good luck with your preparation. Take care.